Hello everyone, my name is Francis Navarro, Professor of Geography from the University of Granada. It is a pleasure to share with all of you these pills about sustainable tourism. In this case, I am going to talk about zoning, indicators, and visitor management strategies. Zoning in sustainable tourism is an essential concept that helps in managing land use, protecting natural resources, and balancing the needs of tourists and local communities. Here's an overview of zoning in sustainable tourism, along with references that can provide deeper insights. 1. Land use planning. Zoning regulations help delineate areas for different uses, ensuring that tourism development does not encroach on sensitive ecosystems or disrupt local communities. Effective zoning can guide development towards suitable locations, reducing environmental impact. 2. Conservation areas. Certain zones are designated as conservation areas to protect biodiversity and natural habitats. These zones can include national parks, wildlife reserves, and marine protected areas. Establishing these areas helps maintain ecological integrity while promoting ecotourism. 3. Cultural heritage protection. Zoning can be used to protect areas of cultural significance from overdevelopment, ensuring that local traditions and heritage sites are preserved. This aspect of sustainable tourism respects local communities and enhances the tourist experience by providing authentic cultural interactions. 4. Mixed-use development. Zoning can encourage mixed-use developments that integrate residential, commercial, and recreational areas, fostering a vibrant community life while minimizing the need for extensive travel. It promotes local economies and reduces the carbon footprint associated with tourism. 5. Community involvement. Effective zoning strategies often incorporate input from local communities, ensuring that their voices are heard in decisions that affect their environment and livelihoods. This participatory approach can lead to more sustainable outcomes and greater community support for tourism initiatives. Visitor management in sustainable tourism involves practices designed to minimize negative impacts while maximizing benefits to the environment, local communities, and the economy. Here are some effective strategies, along with references for further reading. 1. Capacity management. Establish visitor limits to prevent overcrowding in sensitive areas. This can be achieved through ticketing systems, timed entry, and reservation systems. 2. Education and interpretation. Provide educational programs to visitors about local ecosystems, cultural heritage, and responsible behavior. This can enhance awareness and foster stewardship. Interpretation centers play a key role in this. 3. Community engagement. Involve local communities in tourism planning and benefit sharing. Encourage local businesses to participate in the visitor experience. 4. Sustainable infrastructure. Develop tourism facilities that use sustainable practices, such as utilizing renewable energy, water conservation, and eco-friendly materials. 5. Monitoring and evaluation. Regularly assess the environmental and social impacts of tourism activities and visitor experiences to adapt management strategies accordingly. 6. Zoning and spatial planning. Designate specific zones for different types of activities. For example, high impact versus low impact areas to distribute visitor use more evenly and protect sensitive habitats. 7. Promoting off-peak travel. Encourage visitors to travel during off-peak periods through marketing incentives, reducing pressure on sites during peak times. 8. Transportation strategies promote the use of public transportation, biking, or walking to reduce carbon footprints. Develop shuttle services for popular tourist spots. Concluding, implementing these strategies can help manage visitor impacts effectively while fostering sustainable tourism development that benefits both the environment and local communities. For a deeper understanding of these strategies, reviewing the provided references can be beneficial. Indicators of sustainable tourism. These are tools to measure and control the economic, sociocultural, and environmental impacts of tourism. They became necessary due to the lack of knowledge on the part of the UNWTO about the impacts caused by tourism from the 1990s onwards. These are useful for evaluating the degree of sustainability over time. They serve to alleviate potential problems even before they arise. They are applied to detect critical points and to achieve greater levels of sustainability. They can be applied at any scale, from national and regional to the scope of specific destinations and that of companies and establishments. Finally, we can say that there is no list of universal indicators. They must be adapted to the specific conditions and needs of each area of application. The phases to prepare indicators are the next ones. Firstly, the selection of priority issues, identification of desired indicators, inventory of data sources, evaluation of feasibility implementation, data collection and analysis, accountability, communication, and reporting. Finally, monitoring and evaluation of indicators application. The criteria to select a good indicator must consider the calculation procedures should be objective and scientific. Indicators should be related to clear political and public interest objectives. They should be useful at different levels, political decisions, research, and for the general public. Clear and easy to understand by non-specialists. Finally, these indicators should encompass the systemic complexity of sustainability, be comparable with indicators from other places and over a time series. On the other hand, the benefits of the use of sustainability indicators are 1. A better decision-making, lowering risks or costs. 2. The identification of emerging issues, allowing prevention. 3. Identification of impacts, allowing corrective action when needed. 4. Performance measurement of the implementation of plans and management activities, evaluating progress in the sustainable development of tourism. 5. Reduced risk of planning mistakes, identifying limits and opportunities. 6. Greater accountability. Credible information for the public and other stakeholders of tourism fosters accountability for its wise use in decision-making. 7. Finally, a constant monitoring can lead to continuous improvement, building solutions into management. The UNWTO in the year 2005 proposed 14 key issues, which are later specified in specific indicators. Well-being of host communities, heritage conservation. Town community participation. Tourist satisfaction, health and well-being. Economic benefits of tourism, protection of natural resources. Management of natural resources. Environmental impact of tourism, control of activities, destination planning, design of products and services. Finally, sustainability of tourism operations and services. As main examples of indicators, we can mention 1. Site protection category according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN Index. 2. Site stress. Number of tourists visiting the area per year, per month. 3. Intensity of use. Intensity of use during peak periods, high season. 4. Social impact. The tourist-resident ratio. 5. Development control. Existence of procedures for development control. 6. Waste management. Percentage of waste treated. 7. Degree of planning. Existence of organized plans for regional tourism development. 8. Critical ecosystems. Number of threatened species. 9. Consumer satisfaction. Level of visitor satisfaction questionnaire. 10. Local satisfaction. Level of population satisfaction questionnaire. 11. Finally, the contribution of tourism to the local economy. Proportion of tourism activity in the local economy. Some indicators according to the ecosystems are, for coastal areas, deterioration, % of deteriorated, eroded beach. Intensity of use, people meter of accessible beach. Coastal marine fauna, no, of observations of key species. Water quality, coliform germ count in sewage and heavy metals. For mountainous regions. Erosion, % of eroded surface. Biological diversity, count of key species. Access to key sites, waiting time. For cultural sites, traditional communities. Potential social pressure, ratio of average income tourists locals. Seasonality of the site, % shops open all year round. Antagonism, incidents reported between locals tourists. And finally, for small islands, foreign exchange leakage, % losses of total tourist income. Ownership, % foreign or non-local ownership of tourist establishments. Water availability, cost, surplus supply. And indicators of intensity of use measurements, island-wide and at impacted sites. An example could be the number of whales in a specific place. How likely is a tourist to see a whale on a tour? Who will count them and how will the information be reported? For Pleasant Bay, Nova Scotia, Canada, these may be the most important indicators of sustainability for its most important tourist product. Calculation of tourist density. The density of tourist activity has been used as an indicator applied to intensively used sites from Thailand to the Balearics to Argentina. Density has been described per square meter, per linear meter of coastline, relative to actual use numbers, and to potential numbers who could use the site. The most frequently used indicator when applied to beaches has been number of actual tourists per square meter of beach at peak use. The use of this definition requires calculation of the site, beach area, considering how much is open to use, as in many littorals, significant parts may be privately managed. Solution: calculate both, including and excluding this area, resulting in two different indicators: overall density and density in public areas. Measuring number of tourists on the beach. Note, this is easiest for beaches with controlled entry. Otherwise, do counts from photos to calculate density. For large beaches, a sampling process may be sufficient. For controlled sites, dividing numbers by beach area. For non-controlled sites, extrapolating counts to entire area. Issues to be considered: do we include the adjacent service area, the water out to a defined depth? All these need to be clearly stated. Most applications have not included the water, but consider the services which are on the beach to be part of the beach area for calculation. Coral reefs are a special case, fragile ecosystems with immense biodiversity, which are a magnet for tourists. Reefs are vulnerable to changes in the water temperature and turbidity. Major die-offs of the coral and of resident species occur in response to fairly minor changes. As well, fishing and boating activity can destroy reef systems, particularly if there is dynamiting of fish, spills of fuels and bilge water, or dragging of anchors. Tourists themselves can cause damage, either directly by touching reefs, causing turbidity, and disturbing reef species, or indirectly through purchase of corals and other species taken from the reefs. Reef systems in many destination countries of the Caribbean, Red Sea coast, or Asia Pacific are impacted by tourism activity, yet are the principal tourism asset for the destinations. Strict control systems are now in place for some reefs, but in all cases, enforcement remains a challenge, particularly for users of the reef who are not part of guided tours. Key issues for reef systems include maintenance of biodiversity, reef health, mining of coral, fishing, management of tourism, and other human activities on the reef, provision of protection and control services. Some of the indicators which have proven important to the managers of reef systems considering tourism are the following: percent of reef system considered to be degraded, biological surveys; percent of reef area under protection; biological diversity of the reef, species counts; number of visitors to the reef per square meter of reef, or per square cam for large reef systems, maximum and average, per type of users, snorkel, diving, boating, sport fishing, etc. A percent of visitors to the reef who are guided. Number of boats per day on near the reef. Number of dive operators adapting environmental policies, promoting codes of conduct for divers. Number of incidents of anchor damage, spills, etc. per month. Number of control enforcement officers patrolling reef area. Yens generated for reef protection from user fees, tourists, operator licenses. Finally, funds allocated for reef protection from public sources, donor and development agencies, private funds, etc. Definitively, reefs are the main aquatic focus for sports and ecotourism, experiencing growing numbers of tourists worldwide. Indicators on the health of reef ecosystems are very important for the sustainability of these tourist destinations and the global environment as well. Finally, some reflections for the use of these indicators are: firstly, these are instruments that provide information for decision-making and for the implementation of solutions. They measure progress towards sustainability. Secondly, these are not a one-off procedure. They are part of long-term monitoring programs. Thirdly, these should be integrated into planning processes. Fourthly, these should be shared. And fifthly, these help establish a consensus to obtain acceptable change. Thank you for joining us in exploring the world of sustainable tourism, zoning, indicators, and visitor management strategies. Understanding its complexities helps in planning sustainable tourism that benefits both destinations and tourists. See you soon. It was a pleasure. I am sharing my email if you want to send comments, doubts, or anything. Bye-bye, my friends.